I don't believe for 1 minute this idiot has any sort of plan to deal with this.
No.
I think he wants to pay lip service to every single different group under the tent of Labour.
Starmer holds his breath. His party is taking money from sponsors. The Labour Party was destroyed on the show. They are hypocrites who promised to be honest and rid Britain of corruption, but did the opposite. It's a great shame. I will show you the vivid scenes after which there is nothing left of the Labour Party.
When you go Keir Starmer, everybody goes, which one do you want?
Right.
Freebie-gate? What do you mean? It's just
Granny
ridiculous. One of the big things about this country, which for years nobody would talk about, is the problems we have with immigration. And for years, if you said that, you would, oh, it's racist, you can't say that. Migration, this week, this is astonishing, right? We are now the illegal migrant capital of Europe. For years, people, all the bedwetters would say to me, oh, we don't take as many as France or Germany. We actually take more than any. Check this. There are 745,000 illegal migrants, accounting for, in the United Kingdom, in 2024, 1% of our population.
Britain ranks first in Europe in terms of the number of illegal migrants in the country. This is a nightmare. About 973 illegal migrants arrived by boat through the English Channel. This is the largest figure for the current year. There are up to 745,000 illegal migrants in Britain, which is more than twice the number in France, where there are about 300,000 illegal immigrants. Germany ranks second in Europe in terms of the number of illegal migrants. There are up to 700,000 of them. Illegal migrants often look for any opportunity to find themselves in our country and obtain refugee status, which opens access to financial benefits and social programs. In August 2022, a record number of monthly border violations were registered in the country since the beginning of migration flows in 2019. More than 13.5 thousand illegal immigrants crossed the English Channel. And the total number of migrants who arrived in the UK in 2022 reached a record 45,000. In 2023, about 30,000 migrants arrived in the country. The British authorities spend several £1 million a day to accommodate refugees in hotels.
Now, this man who is falling by the wayside rapidly, which is joyous to behold. Forget Freebie-gate, forget all that. For me, and I know Mike and I have talked about this, he gave no plan to win that election. All he did, and somebody said to me the other day, the way you win an election when you are in opposition and the government is not popular is you tell people what's wrong with their lives and who's to blame for it. The thing is, he never gave an answer. I don't believe for 1 minute this idiot has any sort of plan to deal with this.
No.
I think he wants to pay lip service to every single different group under the tent of Labour.
His popularity has fallen to an all-time low as most voters are disappointed with the actions of the Labour government. The first 3 months of his tenure as Prime Minister were marred by conflicts within his team, which led to the departure of Sue Gray, the ongoing scandal over free services and donations, as well as the decision to cancel winter fuel payments for millions of pensioners. The country is in a worse position after the general election, and half of the Labour Party's voters now say they are disappointed. Gray's departure followed several weeks of a power struggle that began almost immediately after Labour won a historic election victory, as well as questions about gifts to the Prime Minister, Gray and ministers from the top cabinet, as well as fears that the government had lost control of its agenda. Starmer has already tried to change the agenda 3 times, announcing the limitation of gifts in the future and returning some of the received ones. Labour's biggest problem seems to be with old-aged voters, whose anger continues to grow over the decision to cancel winter fuel payments for 10 million pensioners as the days get colder.
Soft. There's a really simple deterrent, Mr. Starmer, and I don't think you should have a knighthood because you don't agree with things like that.
I think we should take it off him.
Two-faced git.
Take it off him.
If we were less soft on what we gave out to migrants, if we didn't put them in hotels, give them money, send them to the dentist, the doctor, to the detriment of our own pensioners who are paid for years, then we would be in a better position. Does this man have the balls to do that? Does he, fellas? Like, he's a disaster man.
He received a knighthood for services to the law and criminal justice in 2014, after serving as head of the Crown Prosecution Service and Director of Public Prosecutions. However, the Labour leader prefers not to use this title himself, as he has previously said that he does not like official titles. It is also likely that the use of this title will not be well received by other members of the Labour Party and voters, so it will not upset him much if he is stripped of this title.
Where do I start with that foul, horrible, appalling woman who could become our Prime Minister?
She could.
Now, first of all, if she's going to be Deputy Prime Minister, it's a bit facile, this. Could she dress a bit better?
Yes.
She's not taking money from the right people.
I mean, she's starting to look a bit like John Prescott, though, so I mean...
Well, yeah, I know.
I think he was slightly prettier, John Prescott.
£68,000 a year, £68,000 a year. You could get 2 or maybe 3 presenters on talk for that. You know,
6.
Yeah.
Oh.
6. You know,
Six.
Angela Rayner has promised to resign from her post if a police investigation finds that she evaded paying capital gains tax. Starmer declined to answer a question about whether Rayner would have to resign if it turned out that she had violated the law. Rayner bought a council house on Vicarage Road in Stockport in 2007 for £79,000. On March 2015, Rayner sold her house. Tax experts said she could have received tax benefits if she and her husband had chosen her house as their primary residence, but that would have required Mark to pay CGT on any profits from his house when it was sold in 2016, or because of the high volume of construction work that were held on its territory. As a result, it was stated that Angela Rayner should not pay capital gains tax for the sale of her former municipal housing, and that no further action would be taken.
we are paying for this. You know, she could well afford to pay her own photographer.
She doesn't need a full-time photographer, right? I said this earlier in the week. You know, I used to work in Fleet Street. Even Fleet Street gave up on full-time photographers. They hire them when they need them. You know, go take some pictures today. We've got Prince William coming out of Windsor, whatever. Pay them a day rate, 200 quid, 500 quid, whatever.
She bills the taxpayer thousands of pounds for a photographer to improve her image. She can face a corruption investigation by appointing a personal photographer with a salary of £68,000. Although Downing Street has been hiring photographers to take pictures of the Prime Minister for several years, she became the first Deputy Prime Minister to get her own photographer. And her reaction to the fact that she and other dignitaries received gifts worth thousands of pounds, such as clothes, trips and tickets from wealthy sponsors. She said that donations have been part of their policy for a very long time, but insisted that she had not violated any rules.
This is a woman who 3 years ago in 2021 lambasted Boris Johnson about having a photographer, lambasted him about his wallpaper, called the Tories scum, said they had their noses in their trough. All I heard about these people in opposition, led by her, was cronyism, jobs for the boys. I get that. This lot in 12 weeks, this is what I think, right? They are supposed, or were supposed to be, the party of the working man and woman. What a load of old SHIT that is, because quite simply,
what is a working man or woman?
they don't vote Labour because they look at that and they go, you are abusing it almost as bad, if not worse, than the Tories.
One last thing. Go on.
I remember she criticised Johnson for having a photographer, but now she has her own. I wouldn't be surprised if she arranged for a mysterious photographer to ambush Boris Johnson at a party. Everyone was sitting on a hard knockdown, without leaving home and without seeing their relatives. He decided to choose a strategy that he was allegedly not there, it was not him, he was forced to come, and so on. Then he intended to defend himself to the last, but it is easy to lose allies in such a situation, as the experience of his predecessors has shown.
Angela Rayner, Keir Starmer, and the other ones go on about the Tories' black hole. They left this black hole that needs filling.
Right.
Angela Rayner and the others are going to have a far bigger black hole by the time they leave.
Well, they will, because they're spending the money that supposedly is in the black hole. So the black hole's going to get deeper. But let me tell you this.
So why?
I've got some good news for you. I've got Angela Rayner speaking.
Is she coming in?
And defending. Here she is defending herself.
The British press have printed stories about our Keir and they're calling him names. There's a lot of misinformation and they're calling him names like three-gear Keir. So what if he went to see Taylor Swift more than once? Big deal.
The investment summit ended with loud statements. £63 billion were attracted as investments in the British economy. This money, as promised, will create 38,000 jobs. Will Labour be able to meet expectations, overcoming the pressure of budget austerity, environmental problems, and the spectre of unfulfilled commitments of its own manifesto?
It's an extraordinary moment. A man that's going to be on the international stage talking about, I want a ceasefire in the Middle East, in brackets, both sides need to want that, you idiot, close brackets, they don't. And then he said, I am calling for the immediate release of the sausages.
Yes.
I mean,
people listening to you will think he's making that up.
No.
There's no way. There's no way that the Prime Minister of Great Britain, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, a pivotal man, a pivotal country in NATO, a pivotal place in history, his first conference as Prime Minister, right? Here it is.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Starmer was very embarrassed at the time. The Prime Minister praised his resolute government as a government ready to look to the future when he called for peace in the Middle East and the return of Israeli hostages. Starmer quickly recovered from this, which quickly spread around the world. Keir Starmer is no stranger to leadership gaffes. In July, he witnessed a senile Joe Biden introduce Zelensky as Putin during the NATO summit. There was very little specifics in his speech. There was no real action plan to overcome industrial, economic, energy, transport, social and medical problems. It was just a promise to solve all these problems. What do you think about this video? Share your opinion in the comments. See you